Hello and welcome to the last part, or the third part. Let's see if we can add even more if we want. But yeah, we are the third part where we're actually going to create the app here. And I'm going to cd out of the Dino folder here. And I'm going to call npx React Native init. And actually, I'm going to jump in the app folder first. And then I'm going to do npx React Native init. And I wonder if I can just do a dot here. That would be great. Let's see if that works. All right, that did not seem to work. So I'm just gonna do a quick solution here and cd out of my app, then delete the folder, and then do npx React Native init, and then just put app here. All right, after that's done, we can cd into app, and we have our React Native project here, ready to go. And well, the first thing we can do before starting pulling in dependencies is to create a source folder. And inside the source folder, I can drag in app.tsx here. And I can also drag in my data with examples because I actually want to be using this data in my app. So let's drag it in here. Cool. Now we can remove that Dino folder there. Okay. And then just press save on these pop-ups because now we changed our import. Okay. Now, what we want to do now is yeah, this is the problem with having Deno enabled to true whenever we are putting it in the root. So I think we can just set Deno to false, and that should, yeah, that solve the problem. So this is just a temporary solution, right? But okay, cool. So now we're going to be pulling in some dependencies here, and now I start a new project, I also always want to be pulling in React Navigation. So let's go to React Navigation site, and just copy paste these links that they show. Okay, so I'm gonna be using yarn for this one. So let's first do yarn add reg navigation native, and because we're doing a bare reg native project, we want to copy this statement here. And another thing we need to copy is, let's make it a little bigger here. And then go to hello reg navigation, because we also want reg navigation stack. This one is pretty basic. Whenever you do a reg navigation project, pull that one in. And then we also want tab navigation actually. So we also want to pull that one in. Now that should be good for reg navigation. Now I want to pull in another library, and this is actually a library I used recently in a project, which is magnus-ui. I really like it, so I'm going to be putting this one in as well. So I'm going to do yarn add reg native magnus, then pull in these dependencies. And yeah, it might feel like I'm pulling in a lot now, but this is really all we need. And it's very common whenever you start a new project that you're pulling in this many things. Okay. Now after installing this, we actually need to go to this link here and just do some additional stuff for iOS, which will be our simulator for this video. So here we need to copy paste this stuff in, go to iOS, in here, info plist, the bottom, copy that in. That should be all actually, that should be all. If you go back here, you just need to pod install, and yeah, oops, cd iOS pod install. So this is gonna take a little while. All right, after doing that, we can cd back and then do yarn iOS. And this is gonna take a little while because it's the first time we run the app. All right, that was painfully long, but yeah, after you wait for that to compile, you should be seeing something like this. And yeah, we're good to go with the app. So let's just clear out this app.tsx file to begin with. And yeah, let's just return nothing here. And we do seem to be getting a issue here. And I think, yeah, I'm gonna try to reload the window because I don't think I should be getting that error. Okay, I think it's gone, hopefully. Let's see. Anyhow, when we get here, I'm gonna create a new file inside source. I'm just gonna call it navigation. And yeah, usually what I'm doing here is I will even copy from the React navigation page because yeah, it just saves a little bit of time. So I actually don't have it open anymore. So I'm just gonna open it up again. To docs, we go to, it's gonna open up a little bit. Go here and I'm just gonna copy this in. Actually, I'm just gonna copy this whole file. And then remove this home screen part. And then I'm gonna make my own home screen in a separate file. And I'm gonna import it here. Actually, let's fill it out here. Home. For now, it's just gonna be a div. So if you don't know what div is, it's from React Native Magnus. And I'm gonna showcase a little more later how it works. For now, it's gonna be empty. And I'm just gonna import it here. Okay, cool. Now I also want tabs, so I'm gonna be changing this file a little bit. So instead of app, I'm also gonna call it navigation. And instead of this component home, I'm gonna do a little bit of moving around. So I'm gonna create another function down here. I'm gonna call it tabs. And I'm also going to define a variable here. I'm going to call it tabs or tab. And I'm going to call create bottom tab navigator. Okay. And it seems like it did not automatically import. There seems to be an issue. So since that's a problem, I'm just going to go down to this tab navigation guide and copy it from here. I feel like you can always save a bunch of time by just grabbing code from here for the most basic stuff. And then I'm gonna copy this inside my tabs. And now I'm actually gonna move this part down here. And instead of home up here, I'm gonna say tabs and then put in my tabs. Okay, so now I have a stack navigator wrapped inside my tabs, and that's because I really want that header. Or I don't really want it, but it's just nice. And now I will create another page. I'm gonna call it course. And this is also just gonna be an empty div for now. I just want it for the import. So let's go back to navigation. In here, I'm gonna create a new tab screen. I call it course, and I'm gonna reference course. Okay. Now that should actually be it for the initial stuff here. Let's close that one down. Have a look at our apps. Currently it is empty. We do not seem to have our tabs yet, and that's because we're not returning anything in app. So I'm going to be returning navigation. And see if, yeah, there we go. We have our bottom tabs. We have our header here from our stack navigator. So everything's looking great. Now we can start implementing home and course. So let's close everything up and start on home. All right, so inside home here, we're gonna want to show the word of the day. Okay, so for that, I'm gonna have a div here and I want this one to expand the whole screen. So I'm gonna put flex 1. And I want to have word of the day centered to the screen. So I'm gonna pass in align items and justify center to my div component here. And if you haven't used Magnus, React Native Magnus before, basically I can do a similar thing here as if I was writing styles in Chakra UI or even using a box element for Material UI, something similar like that. I can just pass in CSS properties like this, which is pretty neat. And in here, I'm gonna have another div. I'm gonna add some shadow to it. This one, I'm gonna have a BG white, since we have this gray background here from React Navigation. And I'm gonna have a little bit around it. I'm gonna add in medium here. And I'm also gonna have some padding. And then I'm gonna put align item center because I want the text in here to be centered. Okay, so far so good. We have this little square now. And yeah, to be able to show the word of the day, I need to pull in the actual data. So to do that, I could pull it into state, but for this first part, I'm just gonna import the JSON. Okay, so I'm going to do import data from data with examples.json. Okay, now I'm going to get a little bit of complaint here because in my ts config, I don't have resolved JSON modules on. So I need to add that. So I'm just going to go to the bottom here and then do resolve JSON module, then set it to true. And I'm going to remove these and then add a thingy up there. That should be it. Actually, I need to have these, sorry. Okay. So now I shouldn't get an error here, and I should actually get the typings as well, which is pretty cool. So now I can do, let's see, data dot, yeah, okay, it's working. All right, cool. So I'm just gonna put in, just gonna define a variable here. I'm gonna call it today's word, and for now I'm just gonna say it's the first element in our array. So now I can go down here, text, make sure I import that for Magnus, and then put in today's word dot word. And then I get to trace the word here, okay? And underneath, I'm gonna have the translation, because I want to know what the translation is as well, right? And yeah, that's working quite well. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of margin here, and maybe bump up the font size a little bit too. So font size is gonna be 2XL. Cool stuff. Now that is today's word. Now the idea is I also want to be able to learn this word. So I'm just going to create a button, and I could pull in button from Magnus here, but I'm actually going to create my own button component because I don't really like the default styling. I want to add my own and then just reuse it. And yeah, this might be to overcomplicate things, but I just kind of want to show how Magnus is supposed to be used in at least bigger projects. So once I'm inside here, I can do import from React Native Magnus. I can pull in button, but because my component is also called button, I need to rename it. So I'm just going to rename it as Magnus button. In here, I'm gonna render out that Magnus button. I'm gonna render out some children because that's where our text goes. So I'm gonna expose it up here. And I'm also gonna expose the remaining props that I decide to put in here. So for the typing, I'm gonna add in button props, and I'm gonna add in the ones from React Native Magnus. And that's important because they're not the same as React Native. Okay, so down here, I can just pass those props in. And let's see here, that should be good. Now, I didn't add any styling yet, and that's the reason why I added this whole thing. So I'm gonna do that in a moment. First, I am gonna import it here first though, and then add in learn. Okay, now I get that default styled button there that says learn. And yeah, that's all well and good. Actually, I think I want to put it maybe outside for now. And I also want to center this. Oh, yeah, and then put a little bit of margin top on it, maybe 20. Okay. Now, here comes the smart part. So now since I pull this into my own component, I can add px. Let's say I want a little bit more padding. I don't like the current padding on it. And I also want a different color. So now it looks like this. This is maybe the style I want to reuse throughout my application. So now every time I don't have to define this stuff. I can just pull in this button here. So that's going to be pretty neat. All right, that's it for our home page. I'm not going to change anything on this one for now. So jumping into course, which is here. I want to just show all the words so you can get kind of an overview of what to learn in this course. Okay, so similar to what we did inside home, we need to pull in the data, right, to be able to show it. And still not using state. I just want to show this data straight up. So inside this div, we can add a flat list. And this flat list can take in data. And then we can just rent out each item here. And then we destruct our item here. And now we can, define how we want each item to look. So I'm just going to use div again. And just to get something basic showing, I'm just going to render some text inside this div. And it's going to be the word. Okay. Now that's going to render out some text here. That's good. We're getting a warning because we did not pass in key extractor. So I'm going to do that. Item index. And I'm just going to return index here. And then make sure to stringify it. This is not the greatest practice because what if you're doing this similar thing in another place, but for now this is okay. Now we need to add a little bit of styling. So I would like to have some padding on the x-axis and some padding on the y-axis. 10 maybe. Put some margin bottom because we want to space things a little bit. Flex direction, let's put that to row. Background as earlier, let's put the white because we have this gray background right now. And again, I want to add a little bit of shadow. So this app is using shadows, that's all right. And then let's round it also a little bit and make sure that stuff is centered. Okay, now it looks like this, and it looks a little weird, you can see at the top, but that probably has something to do with the fact we messed up the keys in the start. So let's see if we can reload. And yeah, now it looks good. Okay, so that's just the word, right? So I also want, let's wrap this text in a div and put the styling to this div to flex1, just so it expands all the available space. And then inside here, we can put our translation underneath. Okay, looks all right. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. And then out here, we could maybe show the date of when I'm gonna learn this word. And since I don't have any dates anywhere right now, I'm just gonna put a date here. And then later on we can add that. So for now I'm just gonna put 2021 actually. 0202. Okay, so now we have the date out here. Currently they're all in the same date, so I guess I need to learn this word, all these words on the same day. No, but yeah, we will change this later. Okay, just to wrap this up a little bit, I want to add a little bit of styling on this wrapping div. Because I feel like it looks a little bit cramped, or how you say. So now we have a little bit of padding here on the left side. I think that looks better. And also on the top. Okay, these are the words. This is the daily word. And yeah, pretty cool. Now, I didn't really add any functionality to learn, and I need to fix this date stuff, like figure out which one belongs to which day, so I can also show the appropriate word of the day here instead of just grabbing the first item. Okay, but so far so good. And yeah, let's see if we can do another part where we add a little more functionality to this app to make it useful.